Welcome to Conversations with Colie, where we have conversations about subjects we think about but often don't speak about. My name is Nicole Miller, and I'm the author of this book series, A through Z, Guide to Raising a Good Human, a series I wrote to help in the communication process.
Welcome back to another episode of Conversations with Colie. Today I'm speaking with money coach Eileen Joy. Eileen is a host on her own podcast, Moms Who Money, available on all listening platforms. Welcome, Eileen.
Thank you so much, Nicole, for having me here today. This is going to be so much fun.
I know. Thank you. And I can't wait to learn all that you have to share with us. But first, let's start with our icebreaker question. If you could rid the world of one thing, what would it be?
I have a list. Let's see. I guess hate.
Yes, that was going to be mine. I agree. I agree. I bet you a lot of people would agree.
Agreed.
So tell us all about yourself.
Where should I start? Well, let's see. I'm a single mom, and my son is 10. I was divorced when he was 5. And so I found myself at that time, at the end of my divorce, completely just broken. I was broken. And all through the process of my divorce, I felt very lost, and I was going to therapy, and I was finding therapist after therapist after therapist who was not very helpful. And then eventually I ended up going on meds, which I don't even keep Tylenol in my house. So
Right.
And I didn't want to go on meds, but I was going through such a tough time that at the time I said, okay, let's just try it. And so then I became this zombie robot. And then at the end of my divorce, I was left with nothing. And it was amazing because I had to sell my house to pay for my divorce. I had to get a new job because at the time I was working with my sister-in-law, now ex-sister-in-law, who was trying to make my life miserable at work. And so I had a great job, but I needed to leave. It was just becoming this really toxic environment. So I left, and thankfully I found another great job. And then my son and I got into a car accident that totaled my car, and we both ended up in the hospital.
Oh my
And
gosh.
I know this was all happening at the same time.
Yeah.
And also at the tail end of a bankruptcy.
Oh my gosh.
So by the time that my divorce was final, I received a check in the mail from my attorney's office because they had seized everything from me. Everything. I had told them up front how much money I had, and they said, oh, okay, whatever. And they never said anything about it ever since. And then when I ran out of money, they started to harass me and tell me they would stop services, and they seized everything, and I had to sell my house, and they just took all the money and held on to it until the divorce was final. And I was sent a check for $347.
And that's all you have.
Yes, that's all I had left in the world. And I would have gotten tens of thousands of dollars from the sale of my home, but they took it. And so at that point, I said, okay, I'm now a single mom with a 5-year-old. What the hell am I going to do? You know?
Yeah.
And then I went through the woe is me period.
Yeah. Well, I don't blame you.
Yeah.
My God.
Yeah. And thankfully I was in therapy at the time, and I was able to get through it. And I picked myself up and I said, okay, I got to figure this out. And I did. And so here I am now, the money coach for moms. And my life has completely turned around.
Yeah. So can you tell us a little bit about how you started to kind of pick the pieces up and where you started from?
Yeah. So I'll tell you from the day of my aha moment, because, you know, we all have those aha moments that pick us up, right? And kind of kick us in the butt and light the fire, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So my moment was the day that I spoke with my financial advisor, and that's air quotes, right? So there was this girl that I had met at a networking event years prior, and she was a financial advisor, and we became friends. And we started hanging out and having sleepovers and going out to eat and doing all kinds of things together. And then she said, you know, I can help you, blah, blah, blah. And so at the time, I had given her the money that I had rolled over from my 401k from that job that I had to leave.
Yeah.
And my grandmother had also passed away and left me some money. So I didn't want to spend it. So
Right.
I gave it to her and I said, okay, take this money and grow. Like, let it grow, grow, grow. You know? Grow, grow, grow. And so her job as financial advisor was investing. That was just
Yeah.
what she did and nothing else. So she took my money. She had it for years. And we had this one meeting. Every year we would have a meeting and we would talk about the year prior and blah, blah, blah. So we had this one meeting, and during the meeting, I didn't understand a word she said. And I never really had. I always was just taking it all in and just saying, okay, yeah, thank you.
I'm not
See you
broke.
next year. Right.
Right.
And I would just kind of keep my head in the sand and not really. And I would say to myself, well, she's taking care of it for me. I don't have to worry about it. But this particular year, she just kept saying the market was so amazing. It was so great. And it was so fabulous and all these things. And my money didn't really grow at all. And my money hadn't really grown at all. I think she had about 5 years.
Oh.
And it didn't really grow very much at all within that time. And so I asked her, well, where's my money? If the market was so amazing, how come my money hasn't grown? And to this day, I don't remember what she said to me. I don't know if she was lying to me. I don't know if she was telling me the truth because I don't know what she was saying. I didn't understand money.
Right.
And I felt very shameful and embarrassed about it and stupid. I just felt stupid, And so I hung up with her. And that was the day I said, I need to figure this out. Enough is enough. I just need to figure this out. I can't let someone handle my money for me and not understand what's going on.
Yeah.
So I let her go. And I said, I'm going to figure this out for myself. And so I immediately went to Google, Google University, right?
Yes.
And I was even more confused because there's just so much information out there.
Right.
And it's very conflicting. And it just was more confusing to me. So I stopped with the Google University and I started listening to podcasts. I would just look up money. And so there were some that were way over my head that I just had no idea what they were talking about. And I was just going one after the other, after the other, after the other. And I said, forget this. I'm just going to read. So I just picked up a book. I went to the library and I picked up a book. And that's how I started. And so from that point, I ended up reading over 200 books.
Holy.
I know. More than 200.
So you went to college and then some.
Exactly. And I always say, I read the book so you don't have to.
Yeah.
But so I read all these books and some were great and some were not so great, and same thing as the internet, it's just you take what you want and leave what you want. So I just dove. I dove headfirst into it and I learned, I asked questions, I got help, I did all the things. And I went from just barely surviving, basically bankrupt and broke, to now thriving. And so then all of my friends started asking me, what did you do? This is crazy. You did this in such a short amount of time, because I had basically nothing.
Right.
And thankfully, because I had that great job, I was able to turn my life around very quickly. So I had to buy a new car, right, because of my car accident. So I had gotten a 6-year car loan because I wanted to extend those payments for as long as possible, right? So I was actually able to pay that car off in 3 years.
Oh, wow.
And I had a fully funded emergency fund. I was completely debt-free, and now I'm on track to retire early. And all within this, I taught my son. All about money. So now he's 10. He was 5 at the time I got divorced. He's 10 now. And within this time, he has learned so much. And I have now set him up for life so that he will now be a multimillionaire by the time that he's my age. And he will never have to worry about money. And I have stopped the pattern now of me not knowing about money. My son now knows about money. And now he can continue that pattern on forever by teaching. And so it's amazing because he knows more about money than most adults. It's amazing.
That's great because, we need to know more about money. And that's the whole thing is a lot of people are able to make it, but they can't hold on to it, invest it well. So then by the end of their life, they're sitting there. I watched my grandparents do this, and I found out later it was because they didn't prepare for their future. But they were middle class, upper middle class, and making great money, side money coming in all directions. And then when they hit a certain age and got sick, all of a sudden no more money is coming in. Now they're almost having to go to food pantries. And I thought, why do you work for so long and so hard? And then at the end of your golden years, when you know, you're suffering and you have to go to a food pantry because you can't afford food now. So,
Yeah.
yeah, it's hugely important. So, let's say this. Let's start with the feelings of disparity. When you were in that situation and you were broken and you were in living paycheck to paycheck or penny to penny, how did you move past those feelings to kind of say, okay, I'm going to take a handle on my life?
Well, it was that aha moment day, right? So that lit
Right.
a fire. And I'm the type of person that if a fire is lit, stand out of my way,
Okay.
because I will do anything and everything to make whatever it is that I'm passionate about or my mission at the time happen. That's just
Yeah.
my personality. So that's what I did. That's why I started reading all the books and doing all the things. So the first thing that I did was create a spreadsheet. And I was so proud of my spreadsheet. It was a beautiful spreadsheet. It had all these amazing formulas and it was beautiful. And I still had no idea what I was doing with my money, but I was putting everything on there, but I was just watching it go away.
Yeah.
And I still didn't understand how to manage it. And so there was still more months at the end of the money for me because I was a spender and all I did was spend it, right? So even like the same thing with what you were saying is we have all this money, but it just goes away.
Yeah.
And so that's when I noticed after a while of me just kind of tracking my money and watching it go away, and I had it color coded, right? So if I had no money and it was negative, it turned red. So there was a lot of red on my spreadsheet, and I was just looking at it saying to myself, this is not okay. Something's wrong, you know? And
Right.
so that's when I really started diving into how do I manage my day-to-day money? So I get my paycheck and then what?
Right.
Right? Because what most people think is you get your paycheck, you pay your bills, and then you have about this much left over, this little tiny bit left over, and then you hope that you have enough money left for groceries, gas, and maybe a fun night out.
Right.
And then there's more months left at the end of the money. So then you start using your credit cards to finish out the month. And that's how the debt starts to like creep in really slowly.
Mm-hmm.
And it happens so slowly that all of a sudden you say to yourself, oh my goodness, how did I get here?
Yeah.
And then you feel stuck. And that's when the despair and the scarcity and the lack and all of those feelings come in, because all of a sudden it happens. It feels like it's like out of nowhere, even though it was slowly creeping in. And then you feel like you're never going to get out of it. And that's
Mm-hmm.
how I felt.
Yeah.
That's exactly how I felt. So I figured it out. I figured it out. I tried all these little things. I would try something, see if it worked. If it didn't, I would tweak it, and I just created this program for myself, because that
Mm-hmm.
was my mission. My mission was to help myself and my son. I had
Yeah.
no idea that I would end up where I am right now. No idea. I wasn't thinking about that. I was thinking about what is Eileen going to do?
Right. How do
How
I
am I
get out
going
of
to
this situation now?
Exactly. So I just kept reading and asking questions and doing all the things and just tweaking what I was doing. And then it turns out that my friends wanted me to help them, and I did the same thing with them. And I said, well, this is what works for me. Let's do this, and I helped them. And then they were getting the same results. And
Mm.
so instead of paying all of your bills first, right? That's the last thing that you're supposed to do. The first thing is pay yourself. And that
Mm-hmm.
was the thing I never understood how to do.
My ex-mother-in-law used to say that, and I never understood that either.
Hmm. Yeah. And so that's what I teach. So I teach all of that. I teach so much. I teach more than I just teach it all. Everything that I've learned, everything that is in my head is what I teach, because this is what we need to know, because
Yeah.
we don't learn about money in school. They do not
No.
teach this in school,
Mm-mm.
right? And in my opinion, I think it's just because of the generations, right? We have these generational patterns. So I talk a lot about our money story. And our
Yes.
money story originates from when we're little. So from the time that we're age 0 to 7 is when we're conditioned. That's when all of our messages are received, money or not, whatever it is, everything in our life, right? So we learn everything from our parents and we learn everything from our environment. And we just take in all these messages and then they live in your subconscious. And then that's just how you operate. So you learn money from your parents. They learn money from their parents. They learn money from their parents and and backwards and backwards and backwards, so that all of these now generational patterns of money now keep moving forward and shifting and changing, but no one's really ever teaching anyone about it. We're just learning through our subconscious.
We're just
And until
winging
you
it.
Exactly. Exactly. And we don't know because we're just living through our
Yep.
subconscious, and we don't know that we're not doing it properly because no one ever said that you aren't. So what I do is when I first start working with my clients, we work a lot on the money story, where the root cause of everything that has happened to you up until this point with your money. And lots of times, your money affects everything else in your life. So we do a lot of life talk too as well, because it affects everything,
Right.
right? So we go through all of that, get to the root cause of how and why and how all of these things have come to be now. And then we're like, okay, now we can take this. We understand where we are right now, and we can change our choices, and we can change our habits, and we could move forward. And we do one little thing at a time. I do it in baby steps. And I teach all the women that I work with just like I teach my son. It's so easy that my 10-year-old can do it, right?
Right.
So we do little baby steps, and I teach you, okay, we have to take a whole look at your whole picture, because everyone's personal finance is personal, right? Because personal finance is personal.
Right.
No one makes the same amount of money. No one has the same lifestyle. No one has the same bills. No one has the same anything, right? So a lot of people will say, hey, I just got my tax return. What should I do with it? And then I say, I don't know. I don't know, because I don't know your whole picture.
Right.
Some people say, well, go spend it, go save it, go invest it, go on a vacation, all these different things. But if I don't know your whole financial picture, I can't give you that advice.
Right.
I need to see it all, right? So once we break through all of the patterns, right? Then we dive into the money. So then we say, okay, this is everything. This is what we've got. Now let's create the plan, right? So then we get paid, and then we say, okay, we have 4 buckets. These are the 4 buckets. I make this so easy, okay? So think of the 4 buckets. We have saving, investing, giving, and then spending. Okay? So we just put the money in the 4 buckets. And so we figure out from your picture where and how much of that goes in each thing, right? Because we have to take a look at what your expenses are, how much money do you owe, what are your debts, all of the things. And then what are your goals and dreams? Because we still want to have fun, right? So I teach you how to spend and save and pay off your debts all at the same time.
Right.
Because a lot of people think that you have to pay your bills off first before you can start saving. And that's why no one's saving.
Right. That's true. That is so true. So, what do you say to someone who says, okay, I have now incurred more debt than I actually am bringing money in? How does that person get on the right track?
It's easy. It's the same with anything else. Whether you have a tiny amount of debt or a lot of debt, it's just the amount of time that it'll take you to pay it off. But you're still going to be paying it off while you're saving. So, because everyone thinks I have to pay this debt off, it's going to take me forever, and then I can save.
Yeah.
Right? And so the reason why we do this is very simple. So think about, you're focusing just on paying down your debt, right? And you're not saving anything, and you're freaking out because there's more month at the end of the money, and all you're doing is paying your debt, and you have these high interest rates on your cards, and then an emergency happens and you have no cash. So you have to put it on the card, right? So then you're just incurring more debt, right? So you've worked really hard to get to where you are paying down your debt, and then all of a sudden you're kind of back to where you started from. And it's like, I call it yo-yo moneying. It's kind of like yo-yo dieting. And I always compare weight loss with money, because I was an overweight kid. I was an overweight adult. I was an overweight person for a very long time. I dieted my way, yo-yo dieted my way up to 245 pounds. And I was completely miserable. I was the fat girl in school. My mom would have me on a diet. I would yo-yo, yo-yo, yo-yo. And I was never smaller than a size 12, even in elementary school. I was always large. And so I know the mindset all around weight loss and health is the exact same mindset as money, right? And so you get into these same cycles, right? Because people don't want to go on a diet
Right.
because, air quotes, diet, because you feel like you're going to be deprived. People don't want to budget their money because you feel like you're going to be deprived. But no
Right.
one really understands what that word budget really means. People just, people out there say, money doesn't grow on trees and people that have money are greedy and all these things, right? And then the word
Or
budget comes
tight.
up.
Yeah.
Right. Right. Or whatever it is, fill in the blank, right? Everyone has heard something different. Everyone has that same soundtrack playing in their mind, right? And that's your money story,
Yeah.
right? So we reprogram that. So you don't think like that anymore, right? We go from thinking that way to thinking with living with abundance, right? And the budget is not living in deprivation. The budget is you. That's your superpower, is you getting to tell your money what to do, right? So that's the plan, right? So the plan is the budget, right? So that word that triggers, it's such a trigger word, right? So diet, it's a trigger word, budget, trigger word, right? You have the same feelings,
Yep.
right? So when we reprogram that in your mind to saying, okay, I empower myself to tell my money what to do. So we put it in those 4 buckets, right? Instead of just doing the one bucket of paying the bills and then
Yeah.
ignoring all the other buckets, right? So when we get our paycheck, we immediately put it into the buckets and we're telling our money what to do. And you're saying you're going to be saved, you're going to be invested, you're going to go to this, and you're going to, and you're going to tell it what to do. And I help you set that up so that you're empowered now with a financial education. And then you can teach your kids and you stop that generational pattern.
Right. Because that's really what it is. If you're raised with an overspender, you are also going to be an overspender,
Yes.
plain and simple.
Yes.
Are there things that people can do when spending their money, like on groceries? Do you kind of talk about smart spending?
Of course.
Yeah.
Actually, groceries, it's so interesting that you say that, because I started teaching my son about money in the grocery store, because it's actually the easiest place to teach about all things money concepts. And I actually have my son do money challenges all the time. I challenge him to spend his money. And I take him to the store and I teach him how to do it. I give him his allowance in cash and digitally. And I teach him how to use both. And it's so interesting because you have to know how to spend your money properly, because that's part of the whole picture. That's one of the 4 buckets, right? We need to know how to use all the 4 buckets. And so
Right.
spending is only one part of it, right? And usually spending is where everything goes to hell.
Yeah.
Right?
Exactly.
Everyone with their retail therapy, right? Go to Target for
Yes.
one thing and come out with a shopping cart filled with things you didn't really want.
Yes.
So, yeah, so spending is so important. And that's part of telling your money what to do, right? So with groceries and things like that, it's so easy because, we just create these little steps of make a list, stick to your list, right? We have an amount that we want to just save for just groceries. And we stick within that, because if you stick with your list, you'll stick within your amount. Don't go to Target and grab 27 things you don't need. You just stick to your things like that. And it's just really learning new habits. Same thing with weight loss, right? Eating differently, all the different things. And and the cool thing is that it's not deprivation. And it's once we reprogram that way of thinking, money becomes easy. And that's what I do. I make money easy, because you have to reprogram the way you think about life and money to be able to move forward with spending it properly, with saving it and doing all the things. Does that make sense?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. I know a lot of people who will say to me, because I'm huge into like making my dollars stretch. I can go in and spend $50 and come out with 3 times as much as someone who may come out with 3 or 4 items. And we can shop the same stuff. I used to do it with my boyfriend. We would go to Sam's Club and I would pay for some things and I'd be taking out a bunch of items. And he'd be like, let me pay for some stuff. Let me pay for some stuff. I knew what I was doing. I was taking the most of the items, but they were the lesser value of the items. So I would have
Mhm.
6 bags. I would pay $100. He would have 4 items and pay 200 and be like, how did you do that? But that's what it all
Yeah.
boils down to. And it's hard to explain to people that if you kind of analyze where you're spending your money, are you getting the full value of that dollar? A lot of people go, a
Yeah. And this
dollar's
is
a
one of the
dollar.
lessons. Yes. And one of the lessons that I taught my son early on was about unit price.
Mm-hmm.
And it was interesting because I'll explain what that is. So, unit price simply is the price that you pay for the item, and on the little label that's on the shelf, it'll say the price of the item, and then in the tiny little corner at the top, it'll say unit price. And that
Mm-hmm.
is how many units are in the box or in the case that it comes in. And so it just divides by the number of items that were in the case by the price, right? So it'll tell you price per pound or price per fluid ounce or whatever. So you can compare the name brand versus the generic brand. And you can look at the two and say, oh, well, if I buy the generic brands, I'm paying 50 cents per pound. And if I'm buying the name brands, I'm paying $1 per pound. Let's see which is the better choice, right? So
Yeah.
that's what I teach my son in the grocery store. So he now immediately looks at the unit price and all of those different things, right? And so there was actually one day, I will never forget it. It was so interesting because there's this one supermarket that I love to go shopping right near my house. It's a farmer's market, and I like to buy organic. So a lot of the things that I purchase are way more expensive
Mm-hmm.
than
Yep.
generic items and different things. So I'm always power shopping on organic and scouring the sales and all the things. So especially chicken, because chicken and beef and all those things are very expensive, especially the organic or
Yes.
you know,
The
the
healthy
non-hormone
option.
kind. Yeah, the healthy
Mm-hmm.
option, right?
Mm-hmm.
So one day there was a sale going on and I was looking, they always have a sign saying this is the price per pound on this, right? So I look at the sign and then I look at the packages. They're always mismarked. Every single time. Always mismarked. And so if you look at the package, don't just look at the price of the chicken, the total price. Look at the unit price and look
Mm-hmm.
to make sure that it matches the sale price. I'm not kidding you. This happens all the time. Other things happen too. Like you go and you look at the shelf and it says $1.50 or whatever. And then I always go to self checkout. I check
So do
myself
I.
out
Mm-hmm.
and I look at the prices and I remember all the prices because I am putting them in my calculator. Well, I have my son do that. My son does the
Yep.
calculator and he helps me do all the things. And I put him to work while we're shopping. So what'll happen is we'll get to the register and the price doesn't match the price on the shelf. It's always more.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm always having the girl come, hey, can you fix this? This doesn't match the shelf. And then they don't believe me. They think I'm lying and they have to go check and they
Yes.
realize I'm not lying. Plus I take pictures now because I do it somehow. This is what it
Yeah.
says on the shelf,
But you have
and
to. Yeah.
you have to. And so there was one time I was looking at chicken. This is crazy. I was looking at the chicken and it was supposed to be whatever, like $3.49 a pound. And I found some that were listed as $2.99 a pound. So I was like, "Ooh, are there more?" So I was grabbing all of those, right? For organic chicken, that's unheard of. And they were
Yes.
all wrong. But then I saw ones that were $5.49 a pound, $6.49. They were all wrong, and none of them, not one, matched the sale price on the sign. It was very interesting.
Yeah.
It was great.
Yes.
So you really have to be careful.
Well, and I found too, because I'm like you, I pay attention to what the item costs, what the clearance price is, and all the different sales, and I will call them out. But a lot of people don't want to make a ruckus. And
Yeah,
so
make a ruckus.
make a ruckus because the
Yeah,
companies are winning. If you do
exactly.
not correct them, they are getting those extra pennies. And yes, you may say, oh, it's only an extra 60 cents. But in the long term, 60 cents times 10 times, that's $6.
Yeah, and they're getting that from every single person that's shopping, not just you. And that's your
Exactly.
money. That's your money.
Yes.
That is your money, right? So pay attention. That's number one. I always tell everyone awareness is key because without awareness, you can't make change.
Exactly. Exactly. And I think it is very important to teach children, especially
Hmm.
because, your son's not far from 18, 8 years. He's going to be
Hmm.
out on his own. My children, same thing. They need to
Yep.
know that you have to pay attention to those unit prices and do the math because if they can get one over on you, they will. And most
Every
consumers
time.
Yeah. And most consumers are just grabbing and going because they're in a hurry. Yes.
Yep. No one's paying attention.
So explain why money is considered taboo.
Taboo. It's one of those subjects like sex, religion, politics. It's one of those subjects that it's a trigger, right? Money's taboo. People don't talk about it.
Mm-hmm.
Money and sex are the ones that most people don't talk about. Religion and politics are highly spoken about, but cause the hate, right?
Yeah.
And money and sex are both very important topics. We need those in our lives, right? But no one talks about them, and everyone feels shame and embarrassment and guilt and all these feelings, anxiety around these subjects that are so important, right? And it all goes back to our money story.
Mm-hmm.
It all goes back to our money story. And so how you live in your home growing up is how you will live forever, because that's how you were conditioned. Until now that everyone listening today has heard this, you cannot unhear this, right?
Right.
So now, moving forward, you need to make the different choices, right? And so now you're aware. Now you're aware of your money story. My money story, really quick, was a house full of spenders. That's why I became a spender. My mom was a spender. She still is a spender to this day. And she's always complaining about the bills. My whole life, all I saw was her spending, maxing out credit cards, and then complaining about the bills. And in my mind, I would say, well, you wouldn't have all those bills if you would stop spending money.
Yeah.
And then my dad he had a gambling addiction. And so they were both spending money, but in very different ways. So in my house, there was never any money. There was a lot of money. They both had great jobs. They both brought in a lot of money, but it was always disappearing.
Mm-hmm.
They were just spending it on things, different things, but things. And it was just always gone. So in like the way that I grew up was to learn just to spend and get a credit card and do all the things, and just you get the money, you spend it, you get the money, you spend it, and then you complain about the bills. Like that's just
Yeah.
right. And so that's, ultimately what led me and my ex-husband to bankruptcy, because we both were spenders. And all of the things.
Do you think that it had anything to do with society-wise? We were conditioned to keep up with the Joneses. And I think
Yes.
some people still do. There's a small generation of younger people who are kind of getting it right. They're reducing the size of the homes that they live in. They're living more simple lives. They're not consuming as much.
Yes.
How does one get out of that mindset of the keeping up with the Joneses?
Are we allowed to curse on this podcast?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. Fuck the Joneses.
Yeah. Who the fuck are they?
Thank you. Because I've been wanting to say that since I sat down. So
Yes.
I preach about the Joneses. I've done podcast episode after podcast episode about those Joneses. So I actually did research about the Joneses and where the hell did they come from? Because I was curious. I Google University. I Google everything. And you can find anything on Google, right? You can find lies, you can find, fake news, all the things. But with the Joneses, I found out that it was actually a cartoon comic strip back in the 50s. And that's how it started. So it was this woman, a housewife at the time in the 50s, who was jealous of her neighbor, of everything they had. And they were the neighbors were the Joneses. And so the comic strip was all about this woman trying to outdo her neighbor. And that's ultimately how it started. And so over time, it evolved into what it is now with social media, which now is completely blown out of proportion.
Yeah.
Because I could talk for 3 hours just about this.
Hey.
It's craziness how just social media in general is what causes so many women to feel less than, first of all, which throws us into therapy, which throws us into depression, which just makes us feel like we're not good enough, because that's your reality. And what I have noticed, especially being a mom of a small kid, is that when I'm at the playground, all of the moms are sitting on the benches on their phones. I'm sitting here looking at my phone right now. Like, this is what they are. They're just sitting here looking at their phones, scrolling away, not paying attention to anything. I am one of the only moms actually playing on the playground and having fun and spinning all of the kids, because all the mom on the spinny thing, right? All the kids are like, spin me.
Yeah. And they see you playing with your son.
Yes. And so your phone all of your devices, all of these things have become your reality.
Mm-hmm.
Real life is not your reality anymore. So all you see is what you have on your feed, right? So if you can actually change your reality by changing what you have on your feed, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I have blocked people, I have unfriended people, I have changed the different pages that I follow, all these things so that I receive positive messages every single day, and I
Yeah.
don't look at the hate. Like in the beginning, you asked me, right? Hate. I cannot stand that. I don't want to see that every day. I don't want
Yeah.
to start my day and every time I look at my phone, see about all these really awful things going on around the world. So I just ignore it. I'm
Yeah, you
ignoring
want to
it.
consume nutritious content. I am huge about
Exactly.
that. Mm-hmm.
Exactly. So change your reality. You can even take a break from social media for a little. Take a break. Put your phone down for a week. Go enjoy your family.
Yes.
Go do something fun with your kids. It's amazing. My son and I, we go outside all the time. We actually, yesterday, well, 2 days ago, I don't even know what day it is anymore. we just made, we went outside and we were picking things up off the ground. We were finding these really pretty things in nature, like flowers that have fallen on the ground, or like these beautiful berries and different leaves and whatever. And we were collecting them. And then we ended up making a sun catcher.
Oh,
I had
wonderful.
this clear contact paper and we just stuck it to the contact paper. We folded it over, we put a hole in it and hung it up in my porch. And
Neat.
like, we do all these projects, we do things. And if I was just sitting there on my phone and if he was just sitting there playing video games, we never would have had that experience. And that's just one
Right.
little thing, you know?
Right.
So just put your phone down, change your reality, take a break. All the Joneses, they're all on the phone,
Mm-hmm.
and that's what's making you feel like less than, and that
Mm-hmm.
you have to go buy that thing because Sally has it. And
Yeah.
you know what? Sally's not paying your bills,
Mm-hmm.
right? The Joneses don't pay your bills. You pay your bills. There's so many people that are house poor because they feel they have to buy a house they can't afford and to fill it with all the things they can't afford, and then to buy the boat and the car and the this and the that just because everyone else has it. But
Mm-hmm.
you don't know what they're going. You don't know if they're maxing out their cards to do the same thing. And
Mm-hmm.
that's really what's happening.
Mm-hmm.
That is really what's happening. And then people are filing for foreclosures and bankruptcies and they can't pay their bills and it's awful. It's
It
awful. It's just a complete epidemic.
It is, and it's very true. People are too busy looking at what other people have, not realizing that deep down in their mailbox is credit card statements out the rear end. So now there are a group of 20 somethings. I think they range between 25 and a little bit younger who are like, that's ridiculous. What are y'all doing? They kind of
Hmm.
have it together because they're doing it in a way. When I hear about how some of them are living their lives and spending their money and
Hmm.
enjoying their experience here on this earth, I'm like, y'all have it figured out.
Hmm.
My generation, it was the 90s, and you had to do, I was a young mom in the 90s. So it was, oh, so and so has a brand new car. And so we have to have a brand new car, and we better get a dog because they have a dog, and we better go on vacation because they go on vacation. And it was just, it's a whirlwind of chasing your tail and feeling lesser than because you don't really have that money.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people say, I'll just do this now and worry about it later.
Yeah.
But the
Yeah.
problem is going to be when you're ready to retire and you have nothing saved, and then you realize, I can't retire.
Mm-hmm.
So think about, what age do you want to retire? How much longer do you want to be working?
Mm-hmm.
Right? And then think to yourself, how much money do I have now? Am I going to have enough money saved for then? Do you even know how much money you're going to need then? Right? Because you don't want to have your kids move out and then it comes time for you to retire and you can't, and then you end up living in their basement.
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah.
want that.
Yeah, me neither. So, what about people that are like my age? I'm 45. Maybe I'm not ready for retirement yet. I'm not even tried to prepare because life just didn't throw me that kind of an
Mhm.
opportunity and I was always in debt and whatever. Is it too late for me?
Not at all. Not at all. I started at 44 when I got divorced. I was 44 when I got divorced. I'm 49
Oh,
now.
wow. Oh, girl, I thought you were the same age as me. Wow. So that gives somebody like me hope because I used to when I when I got my first divorce, I was 25 and I did a 5-year plan. Oh, I'm going to go to college and I'm going to be a nurse. And that's not what shook out because life is life. It throws things at you. And as I got older and older and closer to 40, I literally had a breakdown at age 35 because I was not where I wanted to be in my career. I was not anywhere near where I wanted to be in my finances because I was still raising 2 young kids. I had 7 kids total. So I had a big family. I know.
Wow.
Talk about debt. But I had like this overwhelming sense of I'm never going to be able to retire. I worked in Florida, so you see all the snowbirds and they're enjoying their life, and I thought I'm never going to have that. So talking to you gives me hope.
Yes, it is possible. It is.
Yeah.
The older you are, obviously the less time you have, so the more you have to start right now.
Yeah.
You can't wait.
Right.
Stop waiting.
Right.
Just start.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And the younger you are, you still have to start. You still have to start, but the longer time you have to save. And so you don't have, like, the older you are, you have to save more, a larger amount per month to save for the retirement, right? And the younger you are, like my son, he's only saving $25 a month to put in his investment account. He already has thousands and thousands of dollars. Right. And then the compounding effect over the years, he'll have millions because once he starts working, he'll be putting way more than $25 a month. But he also has money. He's also saving cash for a car. He's going to buy his own car. I'm not going to buy him a car.
Right.
He's going to buy his, all the things. So the younger you are, you have more time and you can put less per month and it will compound over time into this large amount. But the older you are, you have to put more per month. So a lot of times what happens is women come to me, they have great jobs, but they realize they need more. Right. So I have helped people start side hustles, businesses, all different, find other ways of bringing income in. And it's so important because that's what I did.
Yeah, that was going to be another one of my questions. Do you have suggestions for people on side hustles and things that they could do to make money?
Oh, yeah. There's so many things. And there's so many things out there that you don't even realize that you could actually make money doing. And most of the things are just something that you actually really enjoy. It's not just go get a part-time job at Starbucks. Right. You can just start something, even just something as simple as cleaning out your garage and selling things on Facebook Marketplace just to get things going. I've had people do that, make thousands of dollars. I did that for myself. Like that's how I was able to put the rent deposit down on this house because I'm renting.
Yeah.
I had to find a way to get money. I had nothing.
I do that for people too. I charge 10% to sell people's things on Facebook Marketplace.
See? So, there's so many things that you can do. There's things that you can do without even thinking about it, just looking around your house, selling things, whatever. Then there's other things you can do, starting a business, or even just my son, he does things too. He at school, one day, we live in Atlanta, it's very hot here. And so
I live in Dahlonega, girl. We're an hour
no
away.
way.
Yeah.
Amazing.
We're neighbors.
I'm in Kennesaw, not too far. So it was hot one day and he made a fan. He just, the folded fan with a piece of paper. And then one kid sitting next to him was like, oh, can I use your fan? And he was like, I'll make you one and sell it to you. I've taught him how to be an entrepreneur.
I love it.
And so, little things like that of just something, if you're creative, you could make things and sell it. Little things. Just think of things deep within you that you enjoy. If you like organizing, you can organize people's things. I love organizing. I'm like OCD to the max, and everything has to be in its place. And so you can just think of things that you enjoy. If you love to bake, if you love to cook, you could teach. I know someone that I worked with who loved to cook, and she just went on Zoom and taught a cooking class on Zoom to people. And she made so much money just teaching these cooking classes of these recipes that she makes for her family.
Right.
Like there's so many things that you can do to make extra money.
Yeah. So just basically putting yourself out there and trying to see what kind of hooks, right?
Yeah. Yeah. But we do it in a very deliberate way. We don't just throw spaghetti at the wall and see if it sticks. We do everything in a very deliberate way to make it work.
Right.
And then And the really great thing about doing both is being an employee and having a business. You get tax breaks and all types of things with that. And then also, I teach you the difference between your personal finances and your business finances, because taking care of the two are two very different things. And
Right.
if you don't understand how to take care of your personal finances, you will completely run your business into the ground if you don't know how to do personal. And so your business finances are completely different. And so what I can do is teach you both. And then if you do start a business of some kind, I can teach you how to be profitable within your first year.
Oh, wow. Yeah, because most businesses fail within the first 2 years.
Exactly.
That's usually how it projects. So
Yeah,
that's
because of the money
amazing.
management usually.
Yeah. Yeah. So you talk about the power of energetics in your application with money. Can you share what that entails?
Money is simply energy. That's all it is. And we put money on a pedestal. Like it's so far out of reach, like it's for somebody else. And that's why we have that scarcity and lack feeling and the scared. So many people are afraid of money, which is why we keep our heads in the ground and just hope that one day it'll just fix itself. But it never does.
Right.
Right? So money is simply energy. It's just an exchange of goods and services. And at the end of the day, that's all it is. And you put the power on the money. It comes from in your head, right? So however you're feeling about money, which goes back to your money story, puts the power on money. So if you love money, or if you hate money, or if you're scared of money, or however you feel about money, that's you. You're doing that to yourself, right? So that's why we reprogram it, right? So the energetics of money and just your energy as your own person and changing the way that your subconscious is thinking, because that's the reprogramming part, right? We do all that. And I do a lot. I'm also a Reiki practitioner. So I do a lot of Reiki with my clients to clear out the money blocks. I also do past life regression hypnosis because a lot of the money stories come from past lives that are also stuck in our DNA, which is a completely fascinating subject. I also,
It really is. I actually
it
was
is.
researching that the other day, and it was like you had to go back and say to your past ancestors, like, hey, please let this go
Yes.
to kind of clear yourself.
Yes. Because it's a pattern that will just keep continuing unless you change it. You
Yeah.
have to physically change it yourself, and that's through your energy. I also use human design as well, because human design is your superpower. That is how you were designed to be as a human. And what happens is we're designed a specific way, just like our fingerprints, right? We all have unique fingerprints, right? Our human design is our superpower. And our design was actually created 3 months before we were born. And it's a really fascinating subject. So what happens is during that time that I spoke about between the ages of 0 and 7, when we're conditioned, we start living in our conditioning, not as how we were designed. So I work with my clients with the power of human design and explain this is how you're designed to be. And this is how you can clear all those money blocks and fears through the conditioning, because the design tells you this is how you're supposed to operate. But you haven't been operating this way. You've been operating over here. And this over here is all the conditioning and telling you how you're supposed to be living because someone else told you. But you're supposed to be over here with your superpower. And so that's part of the repatterning and energy clearing and all of that. It's amazing and it's fascinating. And once you
Yeah.
can get through all of that and you work through that with working on your money, you become unstoppable.
Yeah. And no one would ever think that your energy and your money go hand in hand.
They do, because all of our money decisions come out of fear.
Mm-hmm.
Every single money decision, especially the big ones. If you think about now that, like I said before, you can't unhear this now, right? So now the
Right.
next big money decision that you're about to make, just stop and think about how you're feeling in the moment. How are you? Because your body's always talking to you.
Mm-hmm.
And it's usually with whispers and nudges, and it's not your brain isn't saying, "Hey, Eileen, don't buy that." You know, it's
Right.
the little things like the hair standing up on your arms, or you have goosebumps, or you feel like you're going to throw up, or your heart starts beating really fast, or you start to sweat, or like these things that just happen in your body when you're trying to make a decision, and that's your body talking to you. Those are the whispers and nudges. So you start paying attention to those and then learning through your human design what those mean and how you can actually use that to your advantage.
Yeah, I love that. So, what are some key components anyone can learn about money? Because some people go, I just don't get it. I can't do it. So, maybe you can touch on those kind of people. What key components can anyone learn? Even your 10-year-old.
Everybody can do it. Everyone says I can't because they're afraid.
Mm-hmm.
The I can't comes out of fear.
Mm-hmm.
Whenever you tell yourself you can't, whether it's money or climbing a mountain or if you have a fear of heights or whatever it is, you tell yourself you can't.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just a story you're telling yourself because you've conditioned yourself to think that way. But anybody can do it. Money is easy. And you're
Mm-hmm.
telling yourself you can't because you're afraid. That is it, 100%
Yeah, cut
it.
and dry. And it's
Yes,
so true. It's so true because I held myself back for many years from a lot of my dreams
me too.
because of fear.
Yes. And what we
Mhm.
want is on the other side of fear. And then we get stuck in the fear. And for how long you're stuck in the fear is up to you.
Yeah,
Right. So I always say go all in on yourself because no one in this world is going to change your life but you.
this is a fact.
So you have to make the decision to say, today's the day I'm going to do it because no one's going to do it for me. Just like we have to be the ones to advocate for our kids and their futures because no one's teaching them anything in school about
This
it
is
either.
so true. My daughter is a senior in high school now in elective only because we talk
Hmm.
about money so much in the house.
Hmm.
Econ speaks to her. So she's taking an econ class, but it's not required. It
Right.
used to be when we were in school, you had to know how to write a check. You had to know how to read the stock market. You had to know how to do all these things. And that has fallen way off.
I never learned it in school. My
You
school did
didn't?
no, not one bit.
Wow.
Not
And
one bit. We never had a class.
wow. And I thought growing up, because I'm from rural Wisconsin,
Hmm.
okay? The town I'm from is 700 people. My graduating class was 26 people. And so
Wow.
I thought, I was convinced I was getting a shitty education. But now hearing and traveling around, it sounds like I had a wonderful
Yeah. It's
education.
amazing because I'm originally from Long Island, New York,
Mm-hmm.
and the schools there were amazing. And we
Mm-hmm.
lived in a town where we were in the top 10 schools of the whole
Yeah.
state.
Yeah.
And I had a great education, but there were things that were not taught. The things that
Mm.
I did learn were great, but there definitely were holes. And money was a huge one. And I didn't know that my whole life until now.
Because money is so important to our well-being, our lives, it's something we have to deal with the moment we're born. Why
Yeah.
do you think they don't teach as much as they should?
In my opinion, I think it's like what I was talking about with the generations. So the generations keep changing, right? So my parents' generation, which I'm assuming is the same generation as your parents, um, they really didn't have to prepare as hard as we do as people for our retirement because my parents both have pensions.
Mm.
And so they never thought, well, hey, I really need to save extra, extra, extra money for my retirement because my company that I'm going to be with for 30 plus years and stay there for 30 plus years, which no one does anymore, you
Right.
know, people only stayed for the pension. But now
Yeah.
they don't offer pensions anymore. So my parents retired, they got their pensions, they kept their health insurance, all the things, right? But now for us, that's not the case.
No.
So we are responsible for saving. So when school was invented, they didn't teach that, right? And then over time, all the patterns of school evolving and evolving until just this last generation, no one needed to really save for retirement. And now people are struggling thinking that what they're going to get from Social Security is going to hold them down. Meanwhile, Social Security is nothing
Right.
It's nothing. It's supposed to be a tiny supplement to help you with, it's nothing.
Yeah.
You cannot rely on Social Security, and who even knows if it'll be around later on? We don't know. And you
Yeah.
can't plan for that. The only thing that you can do is what you can control.
Mm-hmm.
And that is it. So working on what you can control for your future is all you can do. And if you're not going to have a pension or anything else that's coming to you, if you're, a lottery winner, or if you have this huge inheritance that you might be coming, if someone dies someday, who knows when they're going to pass away, you can't rely on these things, right? The only
Right.
thing you can rely on is you,
Yeah.
right? And then you have to teach your kids, because if you don't, then they're just going to be in the same pattern that you're in, and
Yeah.
it will just keep going.
Yeah. That's so true. So true. So tell everybody about your podcast and what you offer on there for listeners.
My podcast, Moms Who Money, I do really short episodes for busy moms. So I pop on, I do a quick episode, maybe 15, 20 minutes, and I talk about one concept. And I do it in baby steps on purpose,
Mm-hmm.
because I don't, when I learn something, I don't want to feel like I'm drinking from a fire hose, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Because then we don't learn that way. And that's how I felt a lot when I was listening to other people talk about money and other things, where it was just too much coming at me at once and I just couldn't absorb it. And then after, I just felt like I learned nothing.
Yeah.
So I do little key concepts. I talk about money. I talk about mom life. I talk about spirituality. I talk about money mindset, all of it. And I just combine all of it. And it's amazing. I've got great reviews. Everyone loves it. People are begging me to continue. It's
Good.
amazing.
I'm putting it on my listening
Please do.
list. I
It's
am.
awesome.
Yeah.
I love doing my podcast. It lights me up.
Yeah. And you know what? I love talking about money. So I'm super enjoying this. So I can imagine your podcast is going to be everything that I'm looking for and more.
Fantastic.
What programs do you offer and where can people find them?
Okay. So I work one-on-one with my clients. I used to offer group programs, and then people were begging me to look at their money, and they wanted me to just have my eyes on their money. So I shifted. And so now I just work one-on-one with people so that I have my eyes on your money. We create your plan. We go through everything that we need to know. We create your goals. We figure out everything that you need to know to move forward, to set yourself up for life, and then set your kids up for life.
That's
So
awesome.
it's amazing, and I love it. I love that I get to do this every day. I love that I get to
Yeah.
empower women with a financial education and then help their kids. It is the
Yeah.
most amazing feeling in the world. And you can find me on my website, momswhomoney.com. And you can book a schedule. I can't even talk today. You can schedule an appointment with me for a free consultation right on my website. You can also listen to my podcast right from my website, or you could listen anywhere that podcasts are streaming. I'm also on Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. On Facebook and Instagram, I am at Eileen Joy Money Coach. And on LinkedIn, I am Eileen Joy Moms Who Money. And I'm in my stories every day on Instagram having a lot of fun. And so please join me over there. It's a lot of fun. And if today's the day for you, if you're listening to this and you're saying to yourself, I need to fix this now, then get on my website and definitely schedule a consultation. My schedule fills up really fast.
Oh, I can imagine. I can
Yeah.
imagine. I'm not letting you go quite yet. I have
Uh-oh,
some
here
other
come the
questions.
questions. I knew it.
I have some more. So, what are some good habits that people can get into in terms of healthy spending? Can you hit on just a couple?
Yes. So the first thing that I always recommend is awareness,
Mm-hmm.
because you need to be aware first before you spend a dime, is to be aware of what's coming in and what's going out. Because how can you spend if you don't know how much you have,
Mm-hmm.
right? That's why you're in debt, because money has become air. I did a whole podcast episode on this. It's so fascinating. Money is now air. And if you really think about this really hard, over the years, money started back with cattle and chickens and all those things, right? With bartering. And now over time, it evolved into paper and coins. And now hardly anyone uses paper and coins anymore. And now it's just this little plastic card.
Yeah.
Or it's just add to cart on your phone. and you're not paying attention to what you're actually spending and how much you actually have. Many people don't even look at their accounts to see how much they have before they spend. And one of the things that is really sad is that while you're scrolling on your Facebook or your Instagram or whatever, all of a sudden, oh, look, I could buy that. There's an advertisement for this really cool thing that I don't need, but it's really cool. And then you just buy it and then keep scrolling. And then you see some other really cool thing that you don't need, and then you buy it and keep scrolling, right? So money has become air, right? It's become meaningless. It's just, oh, whatever, I'll just buy that, put it on the card, put it on the card, put it on the card, put it on the card. And then all of a sudden you get this bill at the end of the month that's also air because it's paperless, right?
Yeah.
And it's just this amount.
Just a debit.
Right. It's just a dollar amount of how much you now owe. And you don't even look at that. You don't go and look at the statement. You just see the number and you pay the minimum or whatever you can pay that month of, whatever it is, right? Because you just in your mind, well, this month I'll pay $100, whatever. And then you just move on with your life. But you're not looking at how much actual interest that they're charging you, right? And you're not looking at all of these things. So that is step one. Before spending a dime, just awareness. Just sit down with yourself for 5 minutes. 5 minutes. And just look at your bank account. Look at your credit card statements. Just look, just be aware. Take your head out of the freaking sand and just get on your phone and look.
Paying attention. Yeah. Because, it is easy to do. Click, click, click. And then all of a sudden, where did all that money go?
I used to do it.
Yeah.
I know.
Yes. All right. Do you see us transitioning into a complete electronic money system? Do you see cash being obsolete at some point?
It's already happening.
Yeah.
It's already happening. I really feel right now we still have cash, and we will for a while. But over time, I think it'll just be all air. It just will.
Yeah. And so when it transitions to completely air, do you think that people are going to struggle harder?
Oh,
yeah. And
if
what
you don't fix it now, it's going to be worse later.
Yeah. And what do you think some of the good points of money turning to air are?
Well, convenience, obviously. There are good and bad to both. There's pros and cons to everything.
Yeah.
Right? So it's good to know the cash, the tangible, which is why I teach my son both, because you need to know both. And you learn better using cash when you're first learning about money because it's tangible and you can touch it and you can see it and you can learn how to count back change and you can pay more attention to it. And once you really understand how money works, then that moving over to the digital isn't as hard to understand, right? For kids, really. But, adults get it because we used to just use cash and then all of a sudden credit cards appeared and then it's now shifted. And there's actually a statistic that only 10% of paper money is actually used in the world right now.
Oh, wow. I did not know that.
Yeah. It's shifting away from paper money. Most people really aren't using it anymore. So just really learning how to use your cash and understand how the money works and then paying attention to it even harder.
Right.
When you're using the digital, because you really need to pay attention to it, because if you're not looking at it, then it's just going to be the same cycle over and over and over again. And you're just going to stay in debt forever.
Yeah. I have a hard time understanding Bitcoin. I've been researching it a bunch, but I really just it's over my head. Do you have anything that you can explain a little bit maybe of what Bitcoin is, how it works?
Bitcoin is a whole different currency that someone created. Like, someone created money one day, right? And then it stuck, and then we just went with it. And whoever it was back way, way when said, this is going to be money. And this is what everyone is going to use. Well, this person decided one day to make up their own currency, which is what has become Bitcoin. It's just a different kind of currency. And anyone that does choose to invest in Bitcoin, it is like gambling. Because it is very volatile.
It is. And that's the part that it concerns me.
Yes. So if you are investing now, you should only take a very small amount of your money that you're investing. So most of your money should be being invested towards retirement, right? So taking all of your money towards retirement, taking maybe 3%, a tiny, tiny amount, maybe even less, depending upon how much money you make, right? And take that and gamble with it. Because crypto, the NFT, all the newer stuff, it's so new and it's very volatile and we don't really understand it yet. And we
Mm-hmm.
don't know everything about it yet. And every day it's up and down. Like just like the stock market's up and down,
Yep.
but it's very different. It's a very different vehicle for investing. So with Bitcoin in this currency, one day it could be up, 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 and then the next day it could crash, you know?
Yeah.
And what a lot of people do with just investing in general is they don't know how to invest at all. And then they pay so much. It's funny because no one pays attention to their money, but they'll pay attention to the stock market. And it goes up and down and up, and it freaks them out every single
Yes.
day. And they panic and they see something goes down and then they sell it, which is the completely opposite thing that you should do. Right. So, and because you don't understand what you're doing, that's why you panic. And that's the fear. Right. So all the decisions are made out of fear. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it's really just empowering yourself with the information and learning how to do your money. That's really it. It's just learning how to do your money and what you need for you and for your family, and just understanding the little key concepts and then creating the plan just for you. Stop paying attention to the Joneses and everyone else and all the things and all of the
Fuck
noise.
the Joneses.
Exactly.
Joneses.
You should name the episode Fuck
Yes,
the Joneses.
I think I'm going to. I think that's going to be your opener on your promo. Fuck the Joneses.
Yeah. I love it.
So, what advice do you have when somebody's looking for someone like yourself that they can rely and they can trust in someone who's going to handle their money?
Okay, first of all, I do not handle your money. I will not handle your money, and I refuse to handle your money.
Perfect.
You will handle your money. So that is a key component, is the person that you're looking for, are they taking your money from you and playing with it like Monopoly money, or are they teaching you how to do it yourself? And that's huge.
Yes.
Also, you need to make sure that the person that you're working with is someone that you resonate with and someone that you feel you can trust and someone you actually like them, because for me, I work with my clients in 6-month containers. We go 6 months at a time. So if you don't like me for 6 months, you're going to hate meeting with me, right? So,
right. That's
right?
a fact.
Right. So find someone that you resonate with, find someone that speaks your language, find someone that, can explain things on your level, and that if you don't understand something, you feel comfortable saying, hey, you know what? I don't understand that, because that's the reason why you hire a money coach, right? Not a financial advisor. Financial advisors do it for you.
Yeah.
Right? If you ask questions, you might get an answer and then you might not understand the answer. But a money coach will say, hey, let me help explain this to you so that you understand it, so that you can take the information and then go teach somebody else. That's how you should be able to understand. So when you learn something, you want to know it so well that you can tell someone else how to do it, right? So that's how I teach, so that you understand it so well that you can teach your kids. And teaching your kids is, you got to make it on a level that they understand.
Yeah.
Right. So that's how I teach my adults. I teach my adults, the moms, in a way that I teach my son. So it's a very easy way to understand it. And then it becomes fun. And then it's not hard anymore. And then you're not scared. And then you want to look at your stuff. And then you get excited because your debts are going down, your bank account's going up, you're getting closer to all the things are happening. You're saving thousands of dollars, but you're also paying off thousands of dollars at the same time. And it's something that you never ever thought that would become possible in your entire life. Like, I still remember the first time that I forgot it was payday. That was such a weird day for me because I was always living paycheck to paycheck. And I was always saying to myself, I can't until I get my next check. That was like the mantra that was always in my head. I can't until my next check. And then that day I said, oh, wait a minute. It's payday. Huh? Wait, what? It was the weirdest day. And so then from that day on, I never had to worry about it anymore. And it was a completely different feeling within. It's the energy. My energy shifted, like everything, all about it, and how you feel about money, and it becomes more flowy, and it doesn't feel hard and stuck and gooey and hard and tar, like you're stuck in tar. You know?
Yeah, because
Yeah.
I've been there too. I mean, sometimes I can't wait from one day to the next day because I work day to day.
Right.
So, and I get paid day to day. And
Right.
so sometimes if I get a cancellation, it could be detrimental to
Yeah,
my
and then
budget.
that fear comes in of, oh
Oh, yeah.
no, when is my next client coming?
Yeah. And then
Right.
if I have 2 or 3 in a row, holy crap, they've just upset my entire existence.
Right. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And that's that paycheck to paycheck cycle.
Yes.
Right. So learning how to age your money and have your money. So the money you make today is going to be paying bills from 2 months from now. That's aging your money. So instead
Yeah.
of having your paycheck already spent by the time you get it, what I teach you how to do is how to age your money. So you have money now that's paying bills 2 months from now.
I love that. I've always wanted to be on that. So I think I'm going to hook up with you. You're going to be my new best friend.
Right. So we'll set up a consultation.
Yes.
Yes.
Do you have anything else that you would like to share with everybody?
Just really be aware. That's really it. The awareness is where it all begins. Just start looking at your money.
Yeah.
Just start looking and then get help.
Mm-hmm.
Just get help. Because today's the day. You can't wait anymore. It's not going to fix itself.
Yeah, I
Just
agree.
jump on it. Jump on it.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. Well, Eileen, this has been wonderful. I really was like, oh my gosh, am I going to have enough questions to make an hour show? But this
We're
was
going to need
wonderful.
a part 7.
Yeah, we might. We may. And we may have to have you on again. Because it's super important. A lot of people right now are struggling with the economic downturn and they're not sure how to go about things. So it's really important, and it's important to teach our kids.
Agreed.
Yep. Thank you so much for being on with me.
Thank you too. That was so fun. I love talking about money.
If you liked this and other episodes, please click subscribe, like, and share so others can enjoy them too. Thank you so much for listening.